So we came back to the car, and I guess not even Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood is absolved from crime because Royce's backpack is gone.
Hey, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yep, that's a homeless man trying to kill us in our rental car. We were sitting in a nice area of San Francisco, Bayside Village, across the street from a Whole Foods, and a homeless man just tried to murder us. This is the second homeless person to try and kill us today. The first one threw a brick at the windshield of our car just a few blocks away. We've only been in San Francisco for less than 24 hours. We've already witnessed naked people walking down the streets, feces spread across the sidewalk, and attempted murder. We've also experienced theft in front of Nancy Pelosi's house, and as soon as we flee San Francisco, we will read news reports of Paul Pelosi nearly being murdered in that very same house. We came to San Francisco to try and show the difference between rich and poor, but the reality is everyone who lives here is a poor person. Everyone who lives in San Francisco is experiencing hell on earth. The worst city in America. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco. Welcome to San Francisco, California, one of the most historic and beautiful cities in America. Some of the most notable landmarks in America exist right here. Now, some of these landmarks are ancient, but none of them are as ancient as Nancy Pelosi, who's represented this district for what seems to be a lifetime, many lifetimes. Right there, that is the teeny little peninsula of San Francisco. Nancy Pelosi's represented it for 40 years. Now, how do the people inside of Nancy's district live? That's a question we're going to explore today, along with a secondary question, which is, how does Nancy Pelosi live? After many decades in Congress representing the same little district, what are the differences? We're going to find that out and explore today on a special we want to call Nancy's Mansions. Let's go find out. So even here in Golden Gate State Park, one of the most notable historic parks in America, some of the most beautiful scenery around. You can see Alcatraz right over my shoulder here. You have the safety alert, avoid car break-ins, because there is such a high crime problem and homelessness problem here in San Francisco, not even in the most family-friendly and historic of places. Do you feel safe? So where does all the crime in San Francisco come from? Well, crime often emanates from people who have nothing to lose, and those people are often the ones living on the streets in squalor. Homelessness is ubiquitous in San Francisco. Homelessness has exploded. San Francisco has the largest number of unsheltered homeless people in America, second only to Los Angeles, which is a much, much bigger city also in California. With the homelessness, of course, comes massive amounts of crime, drug addiction, and abuse, open and rampant in the streets. In the year 2022, San Francisco has had major spikes in homicides, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, motor vehicle theft, arson, and larceny theft, up 9.6%. The crime in San Francisco is spiraling and skyrocketing out of control. Coupled with those gruesome crimes come some more repulsive crimes. The 311 hotline that allows people to make requests of the city services received hundreds of thousands of calls a year to complain about human feces in the streets. The number of these calls has been steadily increasing in San Francisco year over year. We traveled to the Tenderloin district in San Francisco to see the results for ourselves. So we were driving through what is the heart of Nancy Pelosi's district here in San Francisco, an area known as the Tenderloin district. This area is historic. There are a lot of nice buildings here, and it has been totally and completely overrun by homeless, overrun by drug abuse, overrun by the people who Nancy Pelosi has failed herself. It is a tent city, essentially, in the heart of Pelosi's district. People are walking around like zombies. People are living, of course, on the streets. There are dogs running around. There are people rummaging through trash. And now it seems as though the city is attempting to redefine this area. They're now going to be turning this into the transgender district. So now what has happened is they've taken the most decrepit, rotted, drug-infused, mentally ill area of San Francisco, and have rebranded it by slapping all of the transgender flags all over every signpost. And so I guess that's a pretty apt metaphor, huh? Harvest Urban Market. What's amazing is that you have in these neighborhoods the posh Whole Foods and the really nice markets for organic food, and across the street is literally people living and eating out of trash cans. Because of woke law enforcement and George Soros-funded district attorneys here in San Francisco, there is a rule on the books that you actually cannot be prosecuted for theft that is under $1,000. That means that stores like Walgreens have permanent and perennial theft. There is absolute looting happening at all times inside of Walgreens stores, leading to the franchise to close down many stores here inside of San Francisco, and then other stores have just essentially given up. This is what it looks like inside of a Walgreens store in Nancy Pelosi's district. Crime is such a problem in San Francisco at the Walgreens stores that you have to have gigantic monitors saying video recording in progress while you're in the middle of the store. And here, come over here, let me show you what they are protecting against. You ever seen Old Spice Swagger body wash behind lock and key? There you go. Can't get your Irish Spring on. And it goes like that down the entire aisle here for shampoos and conditioners and deodorants, because everyone in San Francisco, in Nancy Pelosi's district, lives on the street. Prosecution has decreased theft at this store. Attention, we are watching you. Prosecution has decreased theft. Well, you're gonna have to show me that, because currently the law says that if you steal less than $1,000, you're not gonna be prosecuted. Thanks, Nancy. Now, you just being a regular American living in regular America would assume that you could just go in and get your beef jerky at any gas station or any convenience store or any Walmart, but not here. You have to call customer service actually in order to get beef jerky behind the glass here in San Francisco. So, need beef jerky? Call for help. Thanks, Nancy. Okay. However, if you want plant-based beef jerky, feel free. Run and gun, baby. You can take all the plant-based beef jerky you want. No locking that up. Where to next? Well, let's go a mile up the road to Nancy Pelosi's house. Nancy Pelosi's address is a matter of public record. It's in her filings in Congress. She has to disclose it. But we're just going to do a drive to her home's location here in San Francisco, and we'll see if it looks anything like where her constituents live. Welcome to Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood. Nancy's mansion's right behind me. Yeah, you might notice a little bit of a difference between the way that Nancy lives and the way that the people who she represents lives. While the vast majority of Nancy's district is in tent city style squalor, and there is rampant, skyrocketing crime, drug abuse, homelessness, every conceivable possible horror from the third world rotting the inside of Nancy's district, which she has represented for nearly 40 years, well, behind me, what you have is where Nancy gets to live. You see, it's way up on a hilltop. It's away from all that. She never gets to see it, never gets to see the consequences of the leftist policies that she pushes inside of the single-party state that is San Francisco. So Nancy gets to retreat to this neighborhood. Let's go for a walk. Now, while Nancy Pelosi's district may be a mile, a very long mile, away from the homeless encampments and squalor, well, they still feel a little bit of the pressure up here, and you'll notice that every house in Nancy's neighborhood has a wall. That's right, there are massive walls, the kind of walls that Donald Trump goes to bed at night and dreams about. They're huge, they're gigantic, and they seem very sturdy. Some of them are covered in ivy, some of them are covered in shrubberies, some of them are covered in shiplap, but boy, baby, do we got walls in this neighborhood. with notable exception of Nancy Pelosi putting a wall up around the Capitol, there has been no border wall funding at all in any of Nancy Pelosi's budgets ever. In fact, Nancy Pelosi was very excited to fight against a border wall for this country. But she's very happy to live inside of a neighborhood that has spiked walls. Wow. This is what insider trading could buy you someday if you spent 40 years in Congress. You can move into a neighborhood with nice little ivy like that. So we came back to the car in Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood, and I guess not even Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood is absolved from crime because Royce's backpack is gone.
Hey, so listen, my backpack got stolen yesterday across the street from Nancy Pelosi's house. We were here filming, and while we were out, I had my backpack in the car. Someone reached in and pulled it out. I can't believe in this city, in Nancy's district, across from her house, our stuff is getting stolen. Not much was in there. My hoodie, my favorite backpack, things like that. But it's embarrassing. You know, we came here to capture the crime and the homelessness, and outside of Pelosi's house, it happened. Not only did we capture it, but we experienced it. Can't believe it.
48 hours after we were robbed in front of Nancy Pelosi's house, you can even see the Secret Service sitting right there watching us get robbed. Paul Pelosi, Nancy's husband, was brutally attacked with a hammer wielded by an illegal immigrant drug-abusing nudist hippie who is a self-proclaimed leftist who had broken into her house and had threatened Paul Pelosi, ultimately hitting him with a hammer in front of police officers when they arrived.
Officers rushed to Mr. Pelosi, who was lying in a pool of blood.
This shocking story really shook us to the core. We wanted to make sure that Paul Pelosi was going to be okay. Seems like that's the case. The man's now in police custody, but this really underlies an important point here, that no one is safe in San Francisco, that there are rich and poor, but everyone is poor inside of this city because of the poor policy decisions that have been pushed by Nancy Pelosi's political party. High crime, high violence, high drug abuse, high horrors for the people living here result in pain for everyone. And that's not limited to even members of Nancy Pelosi's family. A truly tragic story. Oh, nice to see that you've made it out of San Francisco alive. Welcome to Napa Valley, specifically St. Helena, where Nancy Pelosi has a palatial vineyard. Please follow me. Hello. I didn't notice you there. I am enjoying Napa Valley. Napa Valley is where the 1% of the 1% live. Pinkies up. It's one of the most expensive zip codes in America. Look at the prices around here. This is not for the faint of heart, and it's certainly not for people who want to live in squalor, like inside of Nancy Pelosi's district. You see, there is no homelessness out here. There's no drug abuse out here because, well, those things are illegal and they enforce the laws in this county. This county is a county with the fanciest restaurants and the most expensive vineyards this side of the Western Hemisphere. And so it will come as a shock to you to find out that Nancy Pelosi actually has a palatial estate out here, far, far away from the tragedy that is her district that she's overseen for 40 years. You know, it begs the question, how can Nancy Pelosi afford such a place on a public service salary? All we can say about that is insider trading tastes great. So we were driving down the road in Napa and going to go see Nancy Pelosi's insider trading vineyard, and we're very excited about it. Let's see how close we can get. We have here Nancy Pelosi's personal vineyard. That's right, that's exactly where we are right now. You'll notice that Nancy Pelosi is not an open borders advocate at her vineyard. No, Nancy Pelosi has a nice little wall there, a gate, lots of cameras, some spikes, and Nancy Pelosi is living the lavish life out here. There's no homelessness, there's no drug abuse, there's none of the refuse that exists inside of Pelosi's district that she has run for 40 years. Out here, no, you have nothing but lavish palatial estates. Now, we're not going to trespass on Nancy Pelosi's property. We, of course, know what Nancy Pelosi does to trespassers. But we did want to show you what is publicly available from the street, which is this, giant white orb. What is it? Giant white limestone? Definitely not a Black Lives Matter monument. That's for sure. That's for sure. And if you've seen photos of Nancy Pelosi's family, it makes you wonder. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The beautiful, landscaped, luscious, incredible, expensive, about as expensive as you can actually get property in America. Very different from where Nancy Pelosi lives and the life that she provides for her people in her district. Also, again, nice little wall she's got there. So all is not as it seems, however. It seems like some of San Francisco followed Nancy out here. This is just over the bridge from Nancy's private vineyard estate, where you have graffiti and what looks kind of like a swamp. So Nancy just loves living in swamps. She's chosen to live in DC for 40 years, and she's also chosen to have her palatial vacation vineyard right next to a swamp. So, way to go, swamp creature. So let this just be a very impressive reminder to you what 40 years of public service could do for your stock portfolios and for your life. You don't have to live in slums like the vast majority of Nancy Pelosi's constituents. You could actually live here on Billionaires Row. You could live inside of a giant mansion overlooking the slums, and you could pretty much just be a real-life Batman villain. That's how Nancy Pelosi lives here in California. Pretty stark difference between how her constituents live, but hey baby, that's just insider trading for you. My name is Benny Johnson. We'll see you soon.